Welcome to the Eat Your Greens with Dr. Black podcast. I'm really happy you're here today. I have a neat little episode in store for you today. It's all about snacks. Yes, I said what I said. You heard me right. That was not a typo. Today's episode is about snacks. Now, you know, if you're a regular listener, that I normally talk about health food, right? This is all about how to establish healthy habits and maintain a healthy weight, prevent chronic diseases like diabetes and high cholesterol. So why would I be talking about snacks on a podcast like that? Well, you're about to find out. You've tuned in to episode 41. This is the second episode of season 2, which is basically the second year that I'm doing this podcast endeavor. So welcome. I'm glad you found your way to the show. I have some fun changes for this second year of the podcast. The first Monday, I'm going to keep doing my standard longer form educational content where I either interview someone or pick an important topic, something that I feel is really essential knowledge, and give you some education about it, tell you what the science has to say about all of the different ways that a plant-predominant diet can improve your health. I'm going to keep doing that. And on the fourth Monday of the month, that's when I put out those fun facts episodes, you know, those little short ones where I pick, a fruit or a vegetable, some fun food, and I enjoy talking about the trivia and the history of that, little short segments, tell some bad jokes. I'm still going to keep doing those. Here's what's been going on. Sometimes people will come up to me or my listeners will let me know they appreciate what they're learning on the podcast and they really want to start making some changes, whether it's to their diet or some other healthy habits, but they really don't know how to get started or how to implement what I'm talking about. So I decided that on the third Monday of the month, that middle episode, I'm going to give you some actionable tips, things that you can do in your day-to-day life to help put what I'm talking about on the longer first Monday episodes into practice. So that's what this episode is. I'm going to talk today about something really easy that you can do throughout your day to help improve your health. And yes, I did say snacks, but I'm not talking about potato chips here. I'm not talking about even trail mix. I'm not even talking about fruit or maybe dipping some vegetables in hummus. The kind of snack that I'm going to talk about today is an exercise snack. If you listened to my last episode, I interviewed a physical therapist, Dr. Tom Lawler. We talked about how important exercise is for your health. We had a great conversation all about things like how to get started safely, regardless of where you are, if you're an athlete or if you're an older individual. We talked about the importance of preserving your mobility by moving your body, and also how to strengthen your core. And recall that I also discussed just how dangerous inactivity is. In our culture, in our society, we spend a lot of our day sitting, and it's literally killing us. But if you're like me and you have a really busy job, maybe you work long hours, maybe you have to get the kids off to school in the morning and then you have a long commute to get into the office. Either you work at a desk job or maybe you're in meetings all day, or even if you're staying at home, maybe you have a little baby to take care of. It can seem downright overwhelming to try to fit a solid block of exercise into your daily schedule. So if that describes you, if you just feel overwhelmed at the very thought of trying to exercise on a regular basis, this episode is for you. We're going to talk about how you can improve your health, how you can reduce your risk of those chronic diseases. You can build strength, keep your core strong, and maintain flexibility without feeling like you need an expensive gym membership or expensive home exercise equipment. So that's what we're talking about today, how you can meet those recommendations for the 30 minutes of moderate physical activity and a little snack of exercise, a little fun-sized candy bar of exercise that will give you those health benefits and be just as sweet. Now, you know, I always like to start with some definitions. Let's make sure we understand what we're talking about here. Sometimes you'll hear people talk about physical activity and other times exercise. And what is that? Are they the same thing or not? Physical activity is basically any way that we move our body that expends energy. And when I say expends energy, what I'm talking about is burning calories, right? So physical activity is just anything we do. So exercise is a type of physical activity. It's usually planned, it's structured, and it's repetitive. And we do exercise with the specific intention of improving our fitness. So think about going for that run, your Zumba class, or going to the gym and getting in your Romanian deadlift reps. That's all exercise. Now, there's another type of physical activity called NEAT. Remember I said this was going to be a NEAT episode? Well, here you go. NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. That's NEAT. So that's another type of physical activity, and it's pretty much all the other ways that we move our body that's not exercise. We're burning calories, we're burning energy by doing things that aren't exercise. See, I told you this would be a neat episode. So when we introduce the concept of an exercise snack, what we're really doing is increasing our time spent doing NEAT. And anybody can do it, right? Adults, children, doesn't matter how busy you are. You just have to basically move your body. And this is a great way to get that physical activity in, that 150 minutes of physical activity without requiring dedicated exercise time. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, how can something like that really amount to a significant amount of calories burned? Consider this. The scientists have measured the amount of calories that people burn through NEAT, and it varies, of course, depending on like your job, the environment you live in, your habits and your abilities, but they have measured anywhere from 100 calories per day to, get this, 800 calories per day just through this non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So I'll tell you about our office. Where I work, the nurses can be assigned to two different roles. Some of them are assigned just to working to an individual doctor one-on-one. And although they do go up to the front of the office to get patients and bring them back, they're doing the vitals, the vision screening, all of the things for the well checks. By and large, they're just kind of in their one area with that one doctor. Contrast this to the nurses who are assigned to be the float nurse. So a float nurse is not assigned to a specific doctor. So they'll be helping out all of the doctors. They'll bring back patients for the sick visits. They are doing the things like the flu tests and the throat swabs for strep. They're cleaning the rooms in between visits, and they are moving all over our office. And I asked one of them what the difference was, because a lot of them, they wear those little smartwatches and they can measure their steps. So they said that when they're assigned to a specific doctor, they may average about 3,000 to 4,000 steps per day. But when they're the float, they will get well over 10,000 steps per day. So a huge difference just in their assigned roles, how many steps they're getting. And that you can see how that all adds up. So now that we have an idea of what we're talking about when I say things like physical activity and NEAT versus exercise, let me just tell you why I think this concept of an exercise snack is genius and really accessible for everybody. First of all, it requires minimal equipment, right? You can do this with your office chair or, you don't even need equipment. You can just stand up and walk around. But even something really simple like those cheap, stretchy exercise bands, you can get them at, probably the dollar store. I know I've seen them at our Five Below. I've seen them at Target, places like that. Super inexpensive, and they will roll up really small and go in any desk drawer. So you can use things like that. And you can do these in pretty much any environment. Just in your office, even your cubicle, sitting at your desk. You can do it in the parking lot, the break room, anywhere in your house, your yard, your driveway, around your neighborhood. There's so many ways that you can incorporate these little exercise snacks into your daily routine. So super accessible, super easy to do. And we're going to talk a little bit more about all of that in a moment. First, I want to tell you what the research has to say. So the phrase exercise snack was first used by an exercise physiologist named Monique Francois. And her studies showed that short bursts of vigorous exercise right before a meal could significantly improve blood sugar control in people with insulin resistance. Remember, that's type 2 diabetes. So these little mini exercise sessions were just 1 to 2 minutes, and they were shown to enhance how your muscles take up your blood sugar, the glucose out of your blood, and therefore helped to stabilize those blood sugar levels. In other studies, just 2 to 5 minutes of walking after a meal also can help lower that blood sugar and insulin spike that occurs after we eat. Even just 20-second bursts of stair climbing that were done multiple times a day were found to boost aerobic capacity, that's your lung and heart capacity, and to reduce the health risks associated with prolonged sitting. Remember from the last episode how dangerous sitting more than 4 hours a day is. One pilot study on female office workers investigated the effects of resistance exercise snacks. So that's going to be resistance exercise is like strength training, right? Little short sessions of resistance training that lasted about 10 minutes per day over a 3-month period were shown to significantly improve muscle mass compared to the control group. And so this really highlights that these little small exercise snacks can offer a really promising approach to improve your musculoskeletal fitness, your strength, and then also your diabetes risk, your cardiovascular fitness, all of that, just through these tiny little breaks. Again, referencing back to my longer episode about exercise, we know that things like depression and anxiety can really be improved through regular exercise, and these little snacks are no different. So a little tiny bite of exercise, a little fun size amount of exercise, it led to improved mood and even cognitive performance. People reported feeling less fatigued, less depressed, and had more mental clarity. So after hearing all of this, are you ready to be a neat freak? Your mother always wanted you to be more neat, right? Well, here we go. Let's talk about some ways to add in some of these little exercise snacks and get more neat. Of course, we've all heard those standard recommendations, right? Park a little farther away, so you have to walk farther to get to the grocery store. Take the stairs if you can, things like that. If you're able to, a standing desk is great. We have one at the office now, paired with a little walking pad, and I need to be committed to using that more often during my lunch break, so I'm going to get right on that. So let's start with the work environment. What are some things that you can do? If you have a desk job and you're sitting all day, you can do things as simple as little leg raises under your desk. Straighten out your legs, put them back down, tighten up your quad muscles. As you do it, you can do seated marches where you just alternate lifting your feet and putting them back down. And hey, get this, if your chair swivels, you can get in touch with your inner 5-year-old and have some fun spinning around in circles. I know you want to. You can do things like incorporating quick little walks during your lunch break or between errands. When I'm heating up my lunch in the microwave in the break room, I'll walk little laps around the break room table. So that's 2 to 3 minutes, depending on what I'm heating up, of getting a few more steps in. Here's something interesting I came across when I was researching for this episode. There is a technique called the Pomodoro technique. So if you have a project that you're working on that's going to require you to be at your desk engaged for multiple hours, you can break that work up into 30-minute segments. And so what you do is you set a timer. The first 25 minutes, you're engaged in your work. And then the last 5 minutes of that half an hour is a movement break. You get up and stretch, maybe touch your toes, reach to the ceiling, do some twists, jog around your office, and then you get back to it. And what they've shown is that productivity really went up when people used this technique. In fact, since I was writing this episode, when I read about it, I decided to give it a try. And I was shocked, actually, at how much more productive I was. I was able to focus on those short 25-minute segments and then get up and move and then get right back to it. Now, that phrase, Pomodoro technique, I thought it was going to be, the business analyst who described it or the researcher who published it. But no, it's actually named after the Pomodoro tomato. Don't ask me why. I have no idea why it would be named after a tomato. Maybe it's a small tomato. Dunno. Ask the Italians. Of course, if you're at home, there are lots of ways that you can get more movement into your day in little small chunks. Naturally, things like vacuuming, sweeping, that kind of thing is automatically building NEAT into your daily routine. But of course, you can take it up a notch, make it more fun. I like to listen to my K-pop music with my AirPods while I'm vacuuming and then, dance around like an idiot. I also do that while I'm cooking, washing dishes. I mean, it's kind of, nobody likes to clean the kitchen. So you might as well have fun and turn it into a dance party. You may have heard me reference Dr. Michael Greger and his work at nutritionfacts.org. He's known to stop and do burpees in his kitchen while the blender is running to blend up his smoothies. Now, he's a bit of a maniac, so there's that. Not all of us are going to do that, but anyways. Now, what about in the evenings? You just want to sit down and watch some TV, but unfortunately, what should be an hour or two often is 4 hours or longer of sedentary time just sitting there. So be sure to break that time up too. You can, say, stand up while you're watching TV, maybe fold your laundry or do some stretches. I know a lot of us don't actually have commercial breaks anymore because we're watching streaming, but if you are watching something with commercials, that, of course, is a great time. Don't just get up to refill your popcorn bowl. Get up and do a few laps around the couch. At the very least, sit on the floor when you're watching your show, because that way you have to work harder to get up off the floor when you take your breaks, and that is going to go a long way towards maintaining your strength and mobility. Now, when it comes to kids, of course, I'm going to recommend that we limit that screen time as much as possible. There's really good evidence that depending on the kid's age, anywhere from 30 minutes to 2 hours or more of screen time is terrible, not only for their physical health, but also for their development and their cognitive health, and increases symptoms of ADHD. So the official recommendation is to limit that screen time as much as possible. But if they are going to be on a device, a tablet, or watching TV, set a timer and make sure that they're also standing and stretching and moving around every 20 to 30 minutes. This is even a good strategy for homework time. You can do that Pomodoro technique on kids for their homework time. I think it's even better for kids who have ADHD. I recommend that my family set even a 10 to 15 minute timer. They have to work for 15 minutes. They can get up, move their body, and then sit back down for another 15-minute segment. And so that's not only going to help break up the homework so they can focus better, but it's going to give them that opportunity to have their little exercise snack. Other things you can do, whether you have kids or not, you can play active games, play hide and seek, tag, go to the park, play hopscotch. If you have a tile floor, you can use painter's tape to mark off those squares on your hallway tiles into a hopscotch pattern. Every time you get up to go to the bathroom, when you walk down the hall, you just do your little hopscotch. Now, if you do have some exercise equipment, say you have a treadmill, you can get a reasonably priced attachable desk. And so I have one of these. I put it on my treadmill, and I am astonished at how much work I get done when I'm doing it on the treadmill. Now, I'm assuming it has to do with increased blood flow to the brain. I'm not sure, but I'll decide I'm going to get a half an hour on the treadmill in, and it goes by in the blink of an eye, and I have gotten way more work done. Now, just a point, be safe. You're going to want to go at a nice, slow, comfortable pace. This is not the time to get that cardio in, right? Now, I'm sure I could talk for another hour about all the different ways that we can fit little short bits of activity into our day. The goal here is to do 5 to 10 minutes several times a day, but you could even break it down into, smaller segments and do them more often, so that over the course of the day, you're going to end up getting that 30 minutes of physical activity that's recommended on a daily basis. And you will take your health to the next level. And there's really no downside. I mean, there's all the benefits to your health with very little cost, very little investment in your time. And it's so achievable. So I know that everybody listening to this podcast can definitely do this. Even if you think that getting the full 30 minutes per day in is a stretch, start where you can. I want you to remember something. Any movement at all is better than none. In fact, going from no activity, completely sedentary, to even small amounts of exercise, that's where you're going to get the most benefits to your health. When they did studies, the health improvement is the most when you're just starting out from zero. So don't be afraid to try. Don't be afraid to just get going. It doesn't matter what your physical fitness level is, what you can do. Start where you are and then gradually build on it. And you're going to be surprised. Now, there are some basic goals that we can set for ourselves, even with regard to things like exercise snacks. For example, if you get 5,000 steps per day on average, try boosting it to more than 7,500 steps per day. Or use your reminder, your smartwatch, your phone, or just set a little timer and to remind you to just stand up every hour. Just that act, even of standing for 1 or 2 minutes, is going to dramatically reduce your risk of all-cause mortality. Remember, that's the risk of dying prematurely from any cause. If you can build up to the 150 minutes of moderate physical activity per day, great. But, don't be afraid to just spread that throughout the day. Try your hardest not to sit for more than a total of 2 to 4 hours per day. You're going to reap the benefits. I know you can do it. I'm on your side. If you have any ideas of easy, accessible ways that people can incorporate these little exercise snacks into their day, please do me a favor. Reach out. You can go to my website. That's eatgreenswithdrblack.com and go to the contact page and send me a message. You can even click the link at the top of my show notes and send me a text if you have some really good ideas or if you have benefited from doing these little exercise snacks. I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to this episode today. I hope you find it helpful. If you have any other questions about how to start your journey towards better health, towards healthier eating, a plant-based diet, please don't hesitate to reach out. I want to hear your questions and I will try my best to answer them or maybe even do a whole episode just about that topic. If you listen to podcasts, you're always going to hear people ask you to go ahead and rate the episode and to even leave it a review if possible. Follow the show. This really does help out a lot, especially smaller podcasters like me who are really trying to grow the show. And, our whole life is based on algorithms these days. So it would be really helpful if you just take a minute to give it a little rating. Thanks for listening. And don't forget to eat your greens. Please be aware that this podcast provides general health information about nutrition and feeding of infants and children and is meant for educational purposes only. It's not intended to replace the important relationship between a parent, child, and pediatrician. If you have concerns about your child's nutrition, health, or growth, please consult your doctor.